Hello and welcome to Trinity Online. For today, my name is Matt and I am the Family Life Minister here at Trinity. If you'd like to get more information on our church or learn how to get more connected or support our mission, you can check those links right down in the description. But today, we are in a sermon series that we are calling Light and Love. And it's been a great sermon series so far. We're walking through the book of 1 John. And it is going incredibly well. Today, we're going to be talking about how love is tested, how your love, my love can be tested constantly, especially in 2023, especially as we grow in our faith, love can be tested. So when we just put the definition for the word test out there, what I found is this. It's a critical examination, observation, or evaluation. So I'll ask you this, what emotions pop up when you hear the word test? If you think back to being in school, I'm sure you think of that test is coming. Oh my gosh, I studied. What am I going to get? Am I getting an A, a B, or a C? What am I going to get on this test? Well, what about as an adult when you go to the doctor? Am I going to have high blood pressure after this test? What's wrong? Or just think about the little tests that come when you hang out with friends and family. Am I going to remember that person's birthday? Am I going to remember an anniversary? What am I going to forget? Well, so I think the common thread there is the stress of a test. Well, also the other part of that is when you get the results of that test, you know what to do. You know how to course correct. So today, as we walk through 1 John 2 and we talk about love being tested, here's the goal. It's twofold. It's how do we de-escalate the stress of a test? And then also, it's important to be reminded why we test at all, why we test, in this case, our love. So today's passage, we're going to be reading from 1 John 2, and we're going to break it up a little bit. So let's begin with 1 John 3. We're going to start with 11 through 15. For this is the message you heard from the beginning. We should love one another. Do not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own actions were evil and his brothers were righteous. Do not be surprised, my brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love each other. Anyone who does not love remains in death. Anyone who hates a brother or sister is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life residing in them. So what do we learn from this? We learn don't hate. We learn don't hate. We learn that love is pure. And so what do we push against? We push against division. We push against evil. We push against hate. So I think when we test ourselves, we ask ourselves this question for our test. Is there any hate hidden in our love? Is there any hate in our love? Are we jealous like Cain? Is jealousy driving what we're doing? I think the key here is to make sure that our love is hateless. That when you examine how you love, you examine the way you love, is there hate interjected in there in any way? And that shows us quite plainly that it's not pure. Now we'll move to verses 16 through 18. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. This is a very important passage. Jesus gives us the example of true love, and that's to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. The other part of that passage is when you see someone in need, what is your instant reaction? Do you react with love? Do you react with mercy? So I feel like the test here is, the test number 2 is there mercy in your love? When you examine your love, is there mercy that rises to the top, or is it instantly judgment? Or is it instantly, I don't know about that. Is your instant reaction love? Is your instant reaction mercy? So I would say, do you offer mercy when you see situations where people are in need? The other part of that is, do you make your life available? Do you create space where you can just be available? Do you create space to be interrupted? I think that's a very good question, and it's a very difficult thing to do. So I would urge Is there anywhere in your schedule that you might be able to make space to be interrupted? With so many years in student ministry, some of the greatest conversations I ever had was because I simply created some space to be interrupted and have a conversation, and that can lead to some amazing things. And we'll finish with verses 19 to 23. This is how we know that we belong to the truth and how we set our hearts at rest in His presence. If our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts, and He knows everything. Dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God and receive from Him anything we ask, because we keep His commands and do what pleases Him. And this is His command, to believe in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ, and to love one another as He commanded us. So the test here is there trust in your love? Is there trust? Do you trust God's plan implicitly, or are your fingers and your hands so tight from trying to control every aspect of life? Is there time to release, time to let go? Sometimes our hearts betray us and we seek things that God didn't plan for us. And we see that in verse 20, where it said, if our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts and He knows everything. We are called to be light and love in this world. We're called to be light and love in this world as Christians, as people who follow Jesus. I would urge you to run these tests often and check your love, because again, we are called to be light and love in this world.